Hello, friends, and welcome to the Monday Show 18. I'm your host, Wes. With me, as always, my good friend, Roots. Roots, it just doesn't stop, man. The non-stop cavalcade of games that keep coming week after week after week. 2019 has beaten me down to a little pulp. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way, man. And each game is just getting better and better. And bar is getting raised. And I like that bar, but it's a scary bar because everything that I play after these amazing games it's just changing everything. It changes in my mind. I'm assuming is it's changing in my mind. It's a changing for everybody. And you're playing these games you've never played, or even games I've gone into a couple games in the last few days that were my go-tos, and they're still good. They're just it's not as good, man. I call it the Boneworks effect. There's so many effects bouncing around, man. I don't know what the hell is going on anymore.
Well, we call that the Asgard's effect, and it's a very real thing, named for Asgard's Wrath, just because Asgard's Wrath was the first. It was the first one that said, wow, how far has VR come this year? But yeah, tons of new games raising the bar, but sometimes it doesn't take a new game. Sometimes we need to look no further than the older flat games to get a great new experience in VR. And such is the case with Layers of Fear VR, which released this past week on the 10th of December. It's coming to us from a group called Incuvo and is published by a group called Bloober Team. $20 on Steam, but a 10% off discount on Steam right now. You can get it for $18, and I think if you own the original Layers of Fear, that they're even giving a larger discount for those people. Yeah, this game is a game that I first became familiar with through my my research of Vorpex. There was a while there that I watched. I should say there was a while there before all of these games started coming out that I was watching the Vorpex footage pretty heavily, looking for games. And I'm a horror game buff, and we have a lot of horror games in VR, but we don't really have a lot of great horror games in VR. We got plenty of good ones, a couple of great ones, and I wanted more. So I was immediately attracted to Vorpex because you can play Outlast on Vorpex, and you can play this game, Layers of Fear, which I wasn't familiar with before, but looking at it, this is right down my alley. This game has been described as a psychedelic horror game, and upon playing it, I immediately understand why. This is a very surreal game. It's a game that makes you feel like you can't trust your senses, that what you're seeing and hearing and feeling might not actually be happening. And basically what it does is it puts you in the shoes of a person who is experiencing a very acute psychosis. And it does that very well. And like I said, this sort of thing is right down my alley. I had a chance to play it this past week upon release, and I believe you did as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I noticed this is your footage. I noticed you tried to grab that candle there, and that was one of my biggest things. I was telling you one of the biggest gripes I had. Little things like that, trying to grab a candle that I can't grab because I'm used to things. Will grab a lot of things, or my biggest gripe is just because I don't want to read a book when I go into VR most of the time. All the dialogue or the whole story is like this with clippings and notes and everything, which is right up your alley. For me, it was just like I didn't like it. I didn't want to read a bunch of stuff, but they did do it really cool the way that pulls up and it's just all huge, and then you can actually, some of them are the handwritten notes. They took a lot of time, and I want to state that every problem that I had with this game, those type of things, are a personal preference, and I'm very aware that this is a game that was ported over to VR, and the fact that they took the game and they just put it into VR is amazing. So I don't need to have a dialogue because I feel like in 2019 it's lazy to just have everything to read. But again, it's not in this case because it's a port over. So they did it really well. My only issue is I didn't make it past. I guess there's a key. I found a key and it like magically went in my inventory and it was awesome. And I thought, oh, cool, I'm going to get to use this key. But what I didn't know is that the developers were laughing at me, or somebody was, because I got to the door and it wouldn't open. It didn't give me the option. I looked for inventory. I looked for all these ways to open it. I spent about 10 minutes literally trying to open this fucking door. And then you tell me, oh yeah, no, you just go up to it and open it and it just pops up and ding. And the worst part is you were like, yeah, man, that's where the magic happens, dude. Like you go in that door, weird shit starts happening. Pictures are changing and then like you're describing it to me and I'm like, whoa, I want to see that, you know, like, oh man, I got fucking screwed. But my problem is kind of the same problem you've had with I think with one of the other games is I decided to play it right before we recorded and I only had so much time, and when I hit that bug, it didn't I didn't have time to go back in. I want to go back in though. I want to see some of this where your things are changing on you, where you go in one room, you turn around and it's different. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, this is the game for you then. And yeah, it's totally unfortunate that your game glitched out and wouldn't let you in to the study, because that's pretty much where the game starts at. All the stuff you played is just precursor. And all of the reading. I mean, there's still reading and stuff as you go on through the entire game, but that stuff is optional. You know, you can still get scared out of your wits and enjoy the game without knowing every detail of the backstory. But you know me, I read everything, and I love that there's such a detailed backstory here. And I really thought it was cool, like you said, how they magnify everything. You know, normally in these games, especially these older ones, you know, you're reading on this tiny sheet of paper and there's already, you know, you're in this low res headset, relatively low res compared to like, you know, most people's TVs, and you're squinting to read, trying to make out words, but not the case here. Big and in living color right in your face.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's unfortunate that you didn't get to go in that door, because like I said, once you go in there, you're playing the role of an artist, and once you get in there and you take a look at his last piece of work that he did or that he was working on, it triggers something in your mind, and you pretty much start to lose it right there, and all kinds of crazy stuff starts happening. There's like you said, there's the rooms are changing. You'll go through the same doorway 3 times and go into 3 different rooms, walking back and forth. The artwork on the wall changes. Jump scares that are fairly well disguised and not overly done. You know, if you get a jump scare every 30 seconds, they lose their effect. But that's not what they do here. They'll get you with one every 20 minutes, and they'll set it up in such a way that you're not expecting it. And you know, I've only played just a few, you know, maybe an hour and a half of this game, but what I'm playing so far, I'm absolutely loving.
Let me ask you this. Did you find anything in any of this stuff? Because I'm watching you open up cabinets and drawers and ain't shit in there. And I, you know, it was very reminiscent of my gameplay, because I went through and I opened up stuff and I'm like, man, I mean, I would find stuff. And again, this is just me wanting to interact with stuff, but everything I found in there, I couldn't interact with. And I got to the point where I started looking at it. I started thinking, you know, like, okay, you're wasting my time. Like, what am I looking in these fucking cabinets? I started second guessing myself. Like, am I going to waste my time opening this? But what am I going to miss? You know what I mean? Like trying to justify going through, because I know that it's cool that you can open these cabinets, but at the same time, I don't, unless there's a reason for it, I'd rather you don't let me open it. You know, does that make sense? I don't know.
Kind of in a way. You know, I get it. You don't like exploring for every little detail of the story like I do. There are items that hold significance in this game that you have to find to progress the story, but generally you can tell that you're close to those items because you'll start hearing whispers in your ear.
Mm.
And that way you'll know that there's something around here significant. And then you'll find it. Another little scene will play out. Normally, I think just audio. You know, there'll be audio that gives you a little bit more into the backstory, and then some crazy stuff will happen. It's lather, rinse, repeat. But from what you're saying there and what you're asking, no, this is not an action game. You don't have an inventory. You're not going to find stuff and that you're going to keep. Most of the things that you run across are just incidental. Tell you a little bit about what the characters, you know, into what they do, but nothing, you know, nothing profound. And if searching and picking up this sort of information isn't your thing, then you probably don't need to check every drawer.
I got you. I'll tell you what, that note I was just reading sounded like it was from, maybe I do want to read this because it sounds gossipy. Sounds like it's from his wife, and she was really pissed, and she was saying, oh, you need to talk to me before you go to sleep, not because I guess they're passing notes back and forth. I don't know. It sounds very intriguing, actually. So maybe I just wasn't in the mood to read at that time, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and these people, you know, this took place back in, you know, I don't know, at the early part of the 20th century, it seems. Potty mouths. These people have potty mouths, man, dropping F-bombs left and right, just like Roots.
Oh, wow. Yeah, man, that bastard. What's he doing?
Anyway, you know, again, this is an older flat game ported into VR, and we've seen other games like this, dated VR games. I was pleasantly surprised at how good this game looked. I was expecting less from it when I got in it. And yeah, you can still tell it's dated. A lot of the things are boxy, have that boxy look to them. But the 3D is on point, and the scale's correct. Normally, when you get into these older ports, things are just gigantic. And not here. Everything seemed to be pretty much, you know, the size that it should be. So I thought the game looked pretty good for what it was. What did you think?
I think so too. I think it looked really good, actually. For, like you said, it is a little dated, but knowing when it was made several years ago, the lighting was good. And like I said, I like the way that they did made the things pop out. You know, even that little advertisement for that pest control thing, which I did find was kind of interesting as well, that apparently they're fed up with the people because they're crazy, and they're I put myself in the pest control person's, you know, going out to someone's house that's like the 10th time you've been there, and they're like, nah, man, we got mice here. Like, nah, there ain't no mice. So
I'm trying to decipher what there's some kind of symbolism going on here. I think that the rats that you keep seeing are some kind of, they represent something. I haven't figured it out. I haven't played enough to figure that one out. But obviously this guy's seeing pests that aren't there, but you see it. It's the first thing you see when you get in this house is the rat run across the floor. Did you notice it?
I did not, actually, and that's what's kind of weird. Being in pest control, you'd think I would have seen it right off the bat. Maybe poisoned his family.
I'm going crazy.
Yeah, maybe you are. Maybe. Now this whole game is making me question everything now. You know?
Sound. Solid music, solid sound effects. Check, right?
Yeah, definitely. Even the different noises and stuff, it was already building tension out in the normal, hearing weird noises and stuff, and thought maybe a couple times something was sneaking up on me, but it wasn't. So
here we go. Toilet test. This is how we always check to see how good the devs are. If the toilet's flush, we know we've got a good one. And we pulled the lever and nothing happens.
It didn't flush?
I gave them a C because most of the time it's all or nothing. Either there's no lever, the lever doesn't work at all, or it flushes. But here the lever worked, but it didn't flush. So it was kind of weird. Sink works.
Yeah. That's kind of cool, right? Well,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe the toilet was broken, for all you know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But only hot water. Cold water doesn't work.
See, that's jank, dude. You're gonna return it, right? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I want my money back.
Yeah.
No, anyway, not a lot more can be said about this game without giving out story spoilers. I'll just say this, that with the limited amount of time that I've been in it, I was quite impressed with it. Can't wait to get back into it. And if you're like me, you like horror games and you like something that's very story driven, if you like the type of games that build tension, if you like the type of games that play with your senses, that make you feel like you're in a waking nightmare, then in my opinion, $18, come on, man, that's not a lot of money. What are you doing? Get the game.
Yeah, how cool is it that the devs are giving a break to people that own it flat? I mean, most devs won't do that, and I know there's at least one person in the Discord that bought the game when they found that out. They were like, "Oh shit, man, it's only $14. I'm doing it." That's cool. I think it's pretty. It rewards people that that are already a fan of the game. So.
Right. It's called loyalty, and it's called appreciation. And I appreciate that very much. Super Hot devs,
Yeah,
Moss devs, all of these guys that are charging people $25 and $30 instead of honoring cross-buy. What the hell is wrong with those people?
yeah. Even think about this. If it was standard half price, no brainer, right? Most of these games, you just pick them up instantly. I mean, of course, it would have to be from one direction because a lot of these Rift ones are more expensive. But I don't know. I just think that would be cool. And it looks like, did that not squeeze for you?
No squeezy. But we did gather from the contents of this cabinet that there was prominently a lady in this house at some time.
Yeah, well, I could tell that by that pissed off note. That was clearly a disgruntled. I can't say. I guess it can't. I can't make that assumption. It could have been a guy that was that upset about his wife or something.
Or it could have been neither, man. I don't like your binary tone.
Yeah, that's how God made me. Sorry.
Oh, how dare you?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Layers of Fear, a solid horror title so far. If you want to continue to keep up with my progress through this game, my gameplay channel is linked in the description. Somebody asked me to play through the whole thing the other day, and I want to anyway, so I think I will.
Yeah, I saw that. They were like, please tell me you're playing through this whole thing. I was like, wow, that's cool, man. So that's what I want to see, from your channel. And if I was you, I'd be like, hell yeah, dude, I'm playing this shit. I think that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I suggest you at least give it one more go to get in the room there and see if you like it, because I wager you will.
Yeah, it's not going to cost me anything, and I definitely want to check it out. I love really do like going in. That's one thing that you can't get in a flat game. I don't care if you go in one room and go to the next and it's different. That's cool. But when you're there and you turn around, and sometimes in games you think like, am I imagining? Wasn't that just something else? Like if it's something subtle, that's when it's the best. So.
Yeah. I did a couple of double takes like that. Like, wait a minute, have I been here? Yeah. Like literally the last room I was in before I turned the game off, I was thinking, well, maybe I've been in this one. Maybe it's letting me back out of whatever little trip I just went on, because I was kind of regretting it going in that door, the locked door, so soon, because there were rooms upstairs that I hadn't explored yet. There were rooms downstairs. I didn't even check any of the downstairs out. It was too dark. I said, I'll come back in a minute. But after you go into that room behind the locked door, things start changing to a point where you can't get back.
It was dark. You're right, man. It was like all like really dark, and because it tells you in the beginning, make it as dark as you can so you can barely see this thing. And then I was like, did I fuck up? You know, I should have just not listened to him. So
yeah. So definitely, you know, I've got half of mine to start over, but I'm not going to. I'm going to try to progress, and maybe, hopefully, on the other end of this sequence I'm in, I'll be able to come back out into the main hall and check all that stuff out, because there was the little girl's room upstairs that I hadn't tried yet. There was a couple other rooms, and then there were some candles burning in the basement, and I don't know what's up with that either. So
cool.
Okay. All right. So moving on, again, the nonstop cavalcade of games continues. And another game we both tried out this past week was a game called Nevrosa Primal Ritual. Who was asking us about this game, Roots?
I think it was Driven By. I think he saw it come out. It didn't have many people talking about it, so he messaged the devs about it, and then they messaged us and gave us a key, which was cool. Check it out, and so yeah, that's what we're doing. Took us a few weeks with all the games coming out, though, so we apologize for that. That is a real thing. Is like we have our plans, and then it's like all these games drop, and we're like, man, that we have to cover that, and this, and this, and things just start to fall through cracks.
So yeah, we want to go ahead and thank Gexagon VR for granting us access to Nevrosa Primal Ritual, which, by the way, was released on the 22nd of November 2019 and retails on Steam for $20. Okay, so upon entering this game, my immediate impressions were not so great. And the reason why is, even from the title menu, very heavy reprojection I was experiencing right off the bat. Did you have the same experience?
It wasn't too bad at first. I mean, you know, I super sampled, and then I had it whatever it was set at, and then I decided I would change it to the high settings, and that's when I saw it. So you probably changed it to high right off the bat, which I didn't. I played through like maybe 20 minutes with it normal and super sampled, and it was great. But as soon as I went to kick it up to high, something went weird. I ended up changing it back because I was like, nah, man, this is not right, dude. Like I would just move my head and it would be bad. So,
well, I am running on 1080 Ti versus your 2080. So you probably do have a little more horsepower than I do in that department. But no, I started out on the default, which was medium settings. And right there in the menu, I adjusted those settings all the way down to low. And still it was bad. Now, that said, I was super sampling to 150% at that point. The settings, the graphical settings, they didn't give you a whole lot of options. I mean, there was an option for the anti-aliasing, as you can see there, but I couldn't turn it off. Like, did you try to turn the anti-aliasing
I did.
off?
Yeah, there was no off. It was like only medium, high, and whatever. So you were gonna have something on there, which I didn't like. You know, I blame Alex for ruining it for me. But you know, he was like, you know, once you super sample to a certain point, it does no good to have that on anyway. And it does. It clears away most of the shimmer and all that shit. Once you're super sampling to a point, it is kind of pointless, right?
Yeah, and you know what else is weird? If you have a graphical setting and there's 3 options, wouldn't those naturally be low, medium, and high? Because that's not what the case was here. Like, it was medium, high, and ultra. And like, there was no low. So like, they say it's medium, but we all really know it. What they mean is it's low, right? Yeah,
it's like, remember back in the day when they first started messing with French fries from McDonald's or something? They'd start telling you that the large was the medium, or just, you know, like it was off a little bit. And you're like, no, I'm not stupid. That's still the small, you know. You can call it a medium all you want. But yeah, so I think they're
Yeah,
trying
give
to
me
do.
the large. Yeah, here's
Yeah.
your large, sir. Why is it not as big as his? Well, he got the super size.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he has the super size. Well, I thought that the large was the freaking super size.
Yeah.
You bum.
Uh,
Anyway, back to this game. So I ended up just canceling out of it. I went back into my Steam, uh, my Steam VR settings, turned the super sampling down to 100, so just 1 to 1 on that, and went back in, and it ran pretty good. Like I even turned it up a little bit after I got rid of the super sampling, and it worked fine. Um, so you get in the game, a pretty long starting sequence where you're going up this elevator thing, but it only goes for like a minute at a time, and then a fuse blows and you have to replace it. Um, Kind of an interesting way. You know the fuses burn out at a specific time so that you can stop and look around, right? So kind of a clever way to pause without without just having a pause, right?
yeah, and especially with what you're greeted with, as you're, my thing is like I'm going up this elevator. It's doing weird shit. It's somewhat dark. It's a little creepy looking, and it starts doing it stopped and you're looking around and there's these creatures, man, and you're like, what the fuck, man? There's like all sorts of weird things crawling around, huge, alien looking things, right? And kind of creepy. Now I was a little weirded out by the magic of that elevator. It started doing weird stuff and it flew up there, or went up in pieces, and it still made it up. I think there's some kind of demonic presence behind that elevator. It's my theory, and I saw a pentagram, so I'm pretty sure that it was correct.
So yeah, this was the big surprise. The game sets a tone right off the bat of a science fiction game. So like you're on this elevator and you're witnessing these giant monolithic sized creatures. Some of them look like spiders. There were these other things that looked kind of like a scorpion, but the tail curls up like a scorpion tail. But instead of having a stinger, there was a flower, and from inside the flower, I forget what the inside part of a flower is called, but from that thing, it was shooting lasers out, and the lasers were destroying your elevator. So immediately you get this War of the Worlds science fiction feel going on, but then you get off of the elevator, and immediately this thing pretty quickly turns into a horror game, right?
Yeah, and there's like these spider things, and apparently you can get two guns. I think we both missed the second gun because it looks like initially he just had two guns, but I'm not sure. But what's different about these guns is it's see, there's a pentagram right there. There's or whatever you want to call it. But is it uses your blood for bullets. So like you reload, you push it in, and it's taken away from your life to refill your bullets. And I thought that was kind of unique. And one of the things that creeped me out is I was somehow took a wrong turn. I was off the beaten path. There was no lights. And the spiders started to swarm me, and I got really freaked out. And then I had everywhere I looked, there was spiders, and they were jumping on me, and they were on my face. And I thought I had them off, and I turned and I looked at the shadow, and there was still one on there, and I was freaking out, dude. And it kind of made me think of what it's going to feel like to have Half-Life Alyx, those head crabs jumping in your face. It was actually, I don't know if you had one jump on you or actually got one on you, but it was creepy to know that it was on there, and I didn't know it was on there until I saw it on the shadow and my life was going down. It was pretty creepy.
Yeah, I had that happen to me a few times. Now, the first time it jumped directly in my face, and I shot it off with my pistol. But yeah, there were other times that they were kind of on my back, and I didn't know it. I just knew that I was being damaged somehow. And then, like you said, I kind of looked over my shoulder and caught a glimpse of some of the legs over there, and ended up getting them off of me. But there was a specific part fairly early on in the game where you're trying to get this portal thing to fire up, and there's this whole big series of crazy mechanisms that you have to power up in sequence to get this thing to work. And after you get it powered on, there's a 2-minute timer that counts down, and before you can walk through it. And as soon as that timer starts, the spiders come for you. So you're sitting here trying to hold them off. And literally, I got to the point. Well, let me back up a little bit. At this point, my energy's low, because earlier I decided I'm going to find out what happens when you walk in one of those spider caves. They come out of those red glowing caves. Mm-hmm. And I walked into one and ended up clipping in to the wall or something, and it started damaging my health, like repeatedly. Bam, bam, bam. So like it killed me, or I thought it killed me, but I ended up being back at the camp. Well, not the camp, but the junction switch. You know what I'm talking mm-hmm. about? That allows you to decide where the electricity goes.
Yeah, those 3 buttons.
It just phased me back out to that thing, but I only had 30 life left. And that's when I went up to the portal thing. Had to fight off all these spiders. And just as the timer ticked down to 0, I make a run for that lever you have to pull to fire up the portal. And as soon as I get my hand on it, the spiders jump on me and kill me.
And you know what's sad is in your mind, I guarantee you thought, I'm going to fire this portal up and I'm running in. It's going to come it's going to come alive. Because that's what I was literally running. Those things were chasing me. Because they're coming. I didn't realize I came to the party late, Wes. Okay. So as I'm looking around, I noticed the timer and I'm thinking, okay, this is ticking. What's going on? And by the time I realized what was happening, that's when I was surrounded. I literally had like 20 of those spiders everywhere. And so I was just fucking shooting, running. I was trying to get away, looking at the timer, trying to just thinking, okay, 1 more minute, 30 more seconds, 10 more seconds, Ruuts. You can pull that magical lever, run through that Stargate portal and go into some weird world. And then the timer runs out, I pull it, and I guess it went into some transition or whatever, but it just had me go to the camp. I didn't get to go through my portal. I feel really robbed, and but this is so different that it makes me want to go back in, right? Because we were saying that it's just unique enough to intrigue me enough to want to see what's on the other side of that portal. Do I even get to go in the damn thing?
Yeah, that's true. This is where the game really took off for me. When I died at that portal, I thought it was game over for me. Time froze. So I didn't really die. These spiders are literally swarming in the air around me. And the time was frozen. So I was able to like grab them individually and throw them off of me with health at 0. And all of a sudden something's talking to me. And it says, something to the effect is, you thought you were dead, but I can help you. Yes, I finally found you. I can help you. And I look over to see where this voice is coming from, and it's this little floating cube in front of me talking to me. And it looks like the cube, the puzzle cube from Hellraiser.
Just about to say Hellraiser, right?
Yeah, and it says, I can help you, but in order to help you, I need your blood. So you have to agree to give this thing and sacrifice some blood to it, and it fills your health back up. And from that point forward, you're in this thing's service. It's directing you, telling you where to go, what to do. And that was when the game really took a unique turn for me. Made me think that maybe there's more to this than I originally thought. And that we might have a top-notch horror game on our hands here. Indie horror game. I should put that in there because this game is very indie.
Yeah, it's very creepy. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it wanting my blood and being in service to it. It just doesn't sound very good for my soul. So
it's just a game, Ruuts.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, thank God.
All right. Anyway, the thing ended up taking me down a path. It told me it was going to help me. but I needed to go do something in the swamp. I needed to find an altar, which
Mm.
I found. I followed the path and found the altar, and I walked up, wanted to get a close look at it, and I ended up clipping into the altar, and I got stuck there. I couldn't
Mm.
get back out, and that was when I quit playing. But all in all, here, surprising. You know, I expected one thing. I had a negative first impression of it. I thought going in after my issues with performance at first that this might be another victim to the Asgard's effect, another indie game that I would have loved 6 months ago, but really don't have enough time for today. But the more I played it, the more it grew on me. It was a very, very original concept, which is something that we've talked about many times recently.
Mm.
How we like for games to have something different going on. Well, I've never played anything like this. Have you?
No, and that was my exactly what I was gonna say. Is like, you know, my first initial thoughts were a little worried at first, just because of the difference in quality, because it is an indie game compared to like a lot of the other stuff we've been playing lately. But once it started taking twists and turns, and I got that Stargate feel, and I wanted to get through there, and you know, even the puzzles, you know, even though they weren't too hard, they were intuitive, you know, and you could figure out, okay, there's a plug here, I need to figure out how to transfer this power over that way or whatever. But it definitely is better than I thought it was going to be, and I'm kind of intrigued to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, it's a solid indie game, and by indie, most of you out there should know what that means. That there are some minor performance issues. There is some minor jank that you have to work around. But if you're willing to do that, I think this game has a lot to offer. Graphically, I would call it good enough graphics, right? The graphics that look gorgeous from a distance,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, and once you had it super sampled, turned up, and everything, it was a lot better. But it was definitely good enough. Not to the level of the AAA, but obviously not bad enough to where you would even think, oh man, this doesn't look good. It looked good. So
Yeah, and I thought that the music was really cool in this too. It was this weird, eerie kind of ambient music. It was musical, but it wasn't like a song, if that makes sense. It was just kind of it set the mood for the game in a very interesting way. It sounded like an analog recording almost, like it was being played from a record player or
mm,
something.
yeah, it was definitely different. And so is that slitting your wrist on an altar for maybe that's why I never got to the altar to get my second gun. That's the problem. I need to get to that altar, slit my wrist, I get my second gun, and you can go to town, man. I do want to dual wield in this game. I do think it was cool. You know, the spiders, everything, that the fighting was fun. You know, this game so far that I've played, I would, if I was going to buy it, I might, you know, look for a little bit of a sale on it, but it's not by any means not worth $20. I just, so far what I've played, I'd prefer to pay less, but that's just me.
Yeah, still too early to tell what's going to be a fair price on it. It depends on how much content we have here, and does it deliver start to finish. But it's off to a good start. I've got to say, I'm intrigued. Definitely want to see more. And just watching this footage, man, it looks like it's not going to let up anytime soon.
Yeah, yeah, especially those spiders, man. Creepy.
Yeah, handguns felt okay, didn't they? I felt like it didn't sound like a real gun, but it wasn't a gunpowder gun, right? It was a blood gun.
Yeah, I mean, when you pretty much put that in your premise, you can make it sound like whatever you want, because I don't know what a real blood gun would sound like. But it felt good. The shooting felt good, you know. And definitely getting swarmed by those spiders did not feel good, so I felt good about having the gun. That makes sense. There's a lot of good in there. So.
Yeah. Anyway, you know, again, another game not for everybody. If the Asgard's effect is really weighing heavily on you, you might not be too impressed. But if you like these sorts of dark games with a very unique concept, you might like this one. Maybe give it a look, huh?
Yep.
All right, and we are almost through our game segment for the day, but there was another game that Roots got to play this week, and I'm going to go ahead and let you tell us about that game, Roots.
All right. So this game is Oculus exclusive. Just came out. It's Path of the Warrior, and it was just announced a couple nights ago, and it came out the next day. And they say it's like Streets of Rage in VR, which I've never played, which I guess is another mark on my soul against me because I never even knew what it was. But I don't know, man. This game for me, I didn't know what to expect of it. I picked it up because it looked cool. I saw Gamertag VR playing it and I was streaming it, and I thought, wow, this looks pretty cool. And it's one of the funnest games I've played in a long time. And what's cool about it is it just has a very arcadey feel to it, like an old school arcade game. Just punching, hitting people, grabbing people, throwing them into shit, and like that. You get to throw them in the car. Each level's got a different things that you that happen when you throw them into the things, which is kind of cool. So I don't know. I know you said you haven't had a chance to check this one out yet.
No, only so many hours in the day, and I didn't manage to find time for this one. Although I do think it looks cool. This is your basic Streets of Rage, Final Fight, Double Dragon, beat 'em up, but in first person VR. And I think it's very much a homage to that sort of game from Twisted Pixel. And yeah, I think it's another cool title. It's on both Rift and Quest, unless I'm mistaken. You can get it on either Oculus platform. Was there any multiplayer option in this game, Roots?
They have the option, but it's grayed out right now. They said it's in the works. They're definitely bringing it. And this is also a cross-buy title. So if you buy it on Rift or Quest, you will get it, the other one, for free, which I think was kind of cool. Now you see how that he punched his hands together. You get special moves that you unlock. And that's the first one you get. So if there'll be a certain amount of time, no matter who you punch, once you've activated that, it will just completely melt them. So I like to use it whenever you get against some of these harder, boss types. But yeah, this game was definitely very active. 2 days later, and I'm still feeling a little sore, to be honest. The first day I was like, man, why you play a game like this and you have certain, get to a point where you know your body. Like, man, why is my shoulder sore today? Why isn't, like my upper body, pistol whip, it was my legs, so this is definitely a good workout game as far as constantly moving, punching, and you do get the kick. You just hit a button for that. So, but
yeah, I gotta have those Vive trackers for that, bro.
Yeah, I see people, if they do it, that would be kind of cool. One of the coolest things too is there's a lot of things you can interact with, believe it or not. Chairs, pretty much anything that you see almost you can grab and use as a weapon. All those bottles in the thing, you can grab each one of them. Pool cues, I've grabbed the darts off the dartboard and thrown it in people's faces. And then actually once you pass it, they actually have those as mini games. You could sit there and you can play darts, or you can there's arcade games you can play inside the game, a game inside a game, which is kind of cool. And yeah, so I think it's very versatile as far as that goes. And I'm really excited to try this on multiplayer. I think that will be just a hoot.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's where this game is really going to shine, is when we get some multiplayer going on in it, and the things that you just described about the mini games in the bar. I mean, this is the sort of thing you get in with a couple of friends and just spend hours doing, right?
Yeah. So I spent like 5 minutes almost punching that bag. Well, maybe not 5 minutes, but what's crazy is this game, it doesn't relent, man. Like, you get past a certain point and you'll have to punch open. Somebody will be trapped in that pool table or something and saying, help me out. And you punch them and then you let them out or whatever. In the safe, I think was the first one. And then once you go to the next area, man, they're instantly swarming you again. So it's really pretty much nonstop. And which is what's kind of cool. You saw they were throwing a pull cue at them. So yeah,
it's kind of like sober bar fight, or like drunken bar fight meets sports bar.
Yeah. He needs to punch it, dude. Punch it. What are you doing? Oh, it's a hot dog in there. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed my time in this. It's $20. This is a game that it's polished enough, and it's, if this is the type of game you like, if you like this type of punching game, or I guess Streets of Rage, it's exactly what you would expect of it. It's a fun time, and the levels get really cool. You've got like, even the one that I saw gamer tag was like the third or fourth level was like a house, a haunted house, or not a haunted house, but like a, you know, at a carnival or whatever, and it had clowns popping out and doing stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah, sounds cool. Definitely another one for my list of shame. The ever growing pile of lists of shame. Just so many games to play. Great game after great game. What we have? We had what, 4 or 5 solid games this past week that came out, and it makes me afraid for next week, right?
Yeah, I haven't even tried what Theta Legend or Legion or whatever it is that you got. I haven't played that one. There's a the puppet game. I wanted to pick that one up. You know, actually I might just pick that up because it looks cool, and I don't know. There's certain games that I feel like I need to experience, and it's weird. It's different than flat games. And there's so many games that I didn't play, but they pretty much get me with almost every game that if it intrigues me on any level, I'm gonna get it. You know, so
You're the dev's best friend. They love guys like you.
yeah.
All right, so I think that's going to wrap up our games talk and bring us into our topic of the week. And the topic this week is an interesting one. So Oculus this past week announced a new policy, and apparently what they're doing now is they're going to be monitoring our VR usage, our Oculus account, so to speak, and using that information, sharing that data so that they can give us more relevant, personalized ads on Facebook and I guess on other Facebook platforms. This announcement it comes in conjunction with a similar announcement, basically an introduction of a bunch of new social features that are now available inside the Oculus ecosystem. Basically a ramp up, in my opinion, of social features that are going to all be integrated once Facebook Horizon launches early next year. Roots, when you heard this this story regarding the data collection and sharing, what was your initial impression of it? How did that make you feel?
My first impression was I don't like it, but everything's collecting data. Like I'm not a noob in life. You know, I'm very aware, almost too much to a fault, of everything going on around me and all these companies collecting, and you know, everything's spying on us, our TVs, phones, whatever. So I just thought, okay, this is just another aspect of that. And I, you know, one of the first things when I joined in is it asked me to link to my Facebook account. I linked it. I didn't think anything of it. So it's not going to affect me at all because it's already linked. I don't go on Facebook. I could give a shit's less about it anymore, but I used to all the time. I didn't see it as a problem. But my problem with this, after reading the details, is for people that don't have an account, that are going to miss out on not only new features, but just like regular features, or at least you and I were discussing this. So we're a little bit on the fence on what it means, because it's very ambiguously worded. It's like, it sounds like you can opt out. It sounds like they're going to prompt you, is what the wording, right? They prompt you to ask and say, hey, do you want to link it? And you can say no, but it also sounds like you're going to not be able to have friends anymore, potentially. You definitely won't have access to the same groups. Like you can actually have a group where as a friend, I can be playing and you can just pop in anytime you want. Right now it's invite only. So if anything, it's a better grouping system, and just a lot of different things. So they're changing. It's kind of like you starting a group of, you know, football with your friends, and halfway through the other team just starts changing the rules, and they're towards them, and you're gonna lose. And I don't like being prevented from having any aspects of that. I don't know if that makes any sense. So
Yeah, I'll read for you specifically what they said here, and it is worded ambiguously. Um, let's see here. Where did it go? All right, it says now people will be prompted to use the Facebook account for existing social features like joining parties, adding friends, and visiting other people's homes. So these are social options that have always been available to us in Oculus Home. And it says that now people will be prompted to use the Facebook account for them. And you know, as we all know, prompted means they're going to ask you to use it. Now, does that mean if you deny that you can't use it? Maybe. Well, I mean, I don't know. That's the way people are taking it. I can say that. But back to the larger issue of the data collection, people seem to be up in arms, going nuts about this. And I get it. It sucks. Privacy is dead in the world. You know, to be alive in the information age means that privacy does not exist anymore. Now, people can get mad all they want about Facebook watching them while they're video gaming, but any one of us who has one of these that runs Android, Google is watching everything you do. If you don't believe me, go on here and search something on Google, search for some product, any product, and watch them for 2 weeks try to sell you that with ads. They're watching. They've been watching for a long time. They've been collecting our data for a long time. So essentially, what Facebook is doing here is the same thing Google's been doing. It's the same thing Apple's been doing. It's the same thing Amazon's been doing. Everyone collects data now. And Facebook's just saying, okay, now we're going to do that too. And as bad as it sucks, and again, it sucks, we knew this is what they were doing. This is the end game. This is what they want. This is why Facebook is spending billions of dollars to get people into VR. It's not because they want to be the king of video games in the entire world. It's because they want our data, and they're building the most incredible platform in the history of technology, just so that they can get at that. And again, as bad as it sucks, I get it. And, you know, I hate to say that I accept it, but let's just be honest. We all accepted it years ago.
So let me ask you this. Are you telling me this is a very elaborate data scoop? Is that it is crazy, right? But, you know, you turned me on to a documentary, and I was kind of blown away. And, you know, we don't realize the world right now is having a race for AI. And this is what I joked about with Carmack being too smart and him bridging the gap to bringing them alive to kill us all. But there's a race. There's a race, right, between countries, and China's got so many more people, they say in this documentary. It's a PBS documentary, and they've got so many more people that they're data scooping that their AI is actually progressing faster. And so I think that a lot of companies are scrambling to try to offset that. You know, they say whoever gets to the true AI first is going to run the world, or at least that's the fear in my heart. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting time we live in, and like you said, our everything is being recorded, man. I'm just worried about all the Oculus Quest users out there with all their hand tracking and this data from Facebook, man. What are they recording, you Oculus Quest users, doing? And what are you watching when you're doing this? said activity, and we'll leave it at that.
I'm
So
I'm going to invent a cloaking device for your hand, an invisible glove that so that Facebook can't see what you're doing with your hands at certain times.
you're going to be rich, dude.
It's
Man.
going to be very hygienic, easy to clean, soft to the touch, vibrating. No, anyway. All right. So what Roots was alluding to here, you know, many people when you tell them that it's all about data, that Facebook and Google and all of these conglomerates are spending millions of dollars to just so that they can get our data. People say, why would they want our data? Sure, they can sell us things, but we're already buying things. Why would they spend so much money on data? Why is data so important? And what Roots was saying there is absolutely true. There's a race in the world right now amongst all the different countries and companies to develop the next wave of technology, the technology that's going to dominate our very near future. And that technology is artificial intelligence. And for those of you who don't know what artificial intelligence is, it's computer learning. It's computers that are able to learn through observation. And they already have this technology. The AI is online right now learning, but it only can learn as fast as you feed it data. So basically the situation that we're in now is he who has the most data is able to make the most advancement in the field of artificial intelligence. So there's a new Cold War going on right now for data. The thing is that these Asian countries, China specifically, have so many more people than we do. And what those people represent is a larger sample for data. So if they have 4 times our population and no privacy laws like we have here, some privacy protection here, they don't have that over there, which means that not only are they getting more data from each person, but they have 4 times as many people. So they're getting way more data, which means their AI is going to learn faster than our AI. And basically what it all boils down to is China number one.
Yeah.
And if we want to be able to compete with them in the decades to come, I'm afraid to say it, but you know, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like maybe we have to get on board with this whole data mining structure that have seemed to build up around us over the past decade.
Yeah, it's definitely an intriguing thing to think about. And if you're interested in the documentary we're talking about, like I said, it's a PBS documentary. It's in our Discord. It's in the off topic. It's something about AI or something. And just recently,
it's called the Age of AI or something like that.
Yeah, it was just something they just did recently, and it actually goes into a lot of things about how AI is affecting truck driving, and it's really interesting and kind of puts you in a mindset of what's going on with this all this data mining and why it's happening. It's a lot more than just selling us products. And I'm not advocating that it should be happening, but at some point, I don't know what the hell to do. You know, it's going on. You know, there is countries that are progressing faster than our country, and at least this country. And of course, I'm in the United States. You may not be, but it's a worldwide problem. Everybody needs to worry about this, in my opinion, because I don't trust computers. I've seen the Terminator, and I blame Arnold Schwarzenegger for that, for everything that I distrust about AI.
Yeah, that's the thing. We could say we want our privacy. We don't want the AI to be developed. We refuse to participate. And if we truly had a representative government that made that happen, we may could pull back. We may could go back to the way things were before. But in doing that, we're just forfeiting, basically, because this technology is going to dominate the world very soon. And if we don't participate, then they win by default, right?
Yeah.
The terrorists win.
Yeah, and they say what 10, 15 years, man, is when they expect to start seeing a transformational move. So yeah, and Elon Musk is on it, and now we've got Carmack, and so we're good.
Can you imagine the data they're going to be able to extract? Musk is working on that that brain interface so that we can merge with the AI, so that we can just jack in through a chip that's just close. It doesn't have to be like embedded deep into your brain. Even it just has to be close to a certain nerve center, and they're going to be able to communicate, or at least that's their goal. But could you imagine if you were doing that, even just a game, if you were just kind of patching in your brain into the computer? They're already getting so much data off of us just through our fingertips.
It sounds like such a bad idea on a lot of different levels. But, I heard the rumor was that it was all based on trying to get at Carmack's brain. If they can tap into it and take everything out, we could just solve every problem in humanity. He's got it all locked up in his brain, man. I just don't think he knows how he can't even get it all out because he's just that brilliant. So
yeah, we all know how brilliant Mr. Carmack is. But yeah, so basically the moral of the story here is it is what it is, and it has been for a long time. This is nothing new. This has been the trend for at least the last decade, and Facebook's just doing something in line with the rest of the world. So I never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I think we have no choice but to accept it. At least when it comes to the Facebook side of things, they're at least giving us things in return, things that we obviously all love and find very entertaining, and it continues to grow. It continues to get better. So, at least that's some consolation.
Yeah, and there's not much we can do about it. Although this whole news did make me consider, I'm going to move over to Index anyway. Eventually, it's the best headset out there at the moment. I want to get it ASAP. It just reiterates that it makes me second guess getting software on their platform outside of exclusives. As much as I accept it and I understand that it's happening, I don't like it. And I'm one of those people that out of spite will do everything I can to say, fuck you, Oculus and Facebook. I'm still going to play your exclusives on my Rift S, but I'm not going to go trash my headset. I'm not throwing my library away, but I may buy my next game on Steam, and with the anticipation that, I've always thought, okay, I want it to play native on my headset, so it's better to go on the Oculus, but don't I want it to play better native on my Index that I plan on having as I distance myself away from the way Facebook does this, and probably watch Index do the same thing next year. So I don't know.
Right. All right. Oh, well, I'm sure that there are there's programs in place to watch us everywhere, and I'm sure Steam's no different. In fact, when it comes to statistics and data, Steam is probably the most readily available source of statistics in the entire VR space. So there's that.
True.
At least they're not trying to put us onto their Steam social media platform.
That's my problem with it. Is it's a lot of people when Facebook bought Oculus, and I seen it on Reddit, everybody's gloating and, oh, remember when I said this and I was so wise 3 years ago. Okay, great. We understand Facebook is shitty. We knew this day was coming. We all kind of did in the back of our mind. We accept it because they bring a lot to the table. It doesn't mean we like it. And there's just a lot of stuff with Facebook that there's reasons why I left Facebook over a year ago. And I just don't want to see that get drug into to VR. This is my safe space. Roots needs a safe space. I don't want politics in my safe space. I don't want anything. I don't want on either side. I just want to play my games and just pretend it's all good like it used to be, when the world was not weird. So
yeah, those days have long since gone, haven't they?
yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's about enough on that. Not that we couldn't go on talking about the raping of our privacy for another 3 hours, but without, I think this is probably a good idea just to leave it at that. I'm sure there will be some rather interesting comments down below, and if you want to talk with us more on this or any other topic, you know what to do. There's an invitation in the description to join our Discord. We're there every day with our community, which grows, nonstop growth, it seems like. So we'll be in there talking big data. We'll be in there talking big games and anything else you want to talk about. So just click that Discord invite down there. If you're new to our channel and if you've liked this video, please subscribe. It helps our channel to grow. And a lot of people have been coming in here lately and subscribing, and we're really appreciative of that. Click that notification bell so you can stay notified about all of our content as it releases. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
All right. With that said, friends, we would like to thank you for watching. And for Roots, I'm Wes. We'll see you tomorrow, friends. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.